appreciate all of you coming out tonight to the Innovation Collective Fireside Chat. I'm so happy to see each and every one of you here. Before we start with the chat, I'm going to bring a couple people on stage, and then you can go ahead and come up, though. You're the featured, Ben Keating, the featured speaker. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to bring a couple people up on stage to just talk about a few of the things they're working on with Innovation Collective. And I also wanted to start by giving a shout out to our success team. If you're on the success team, would you please raise your hand so everyone can give you a round of applause? These are people who have supported us being here and gotten us to this point. And so I truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate that everything that you do for Innovation Collective, but also the community. And I also want to give a shout out to Tammy and David Murphy for providing the food from Chick-fil-A. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And so now I'm going to have the first speaker come to the stage. Where is Robin at? There she is. Okay. No pressure. So if you could introduce yourself, tell people a little bit about what you do, and then what Innovation Collective and you are working on.
Yes, absolutely. Hello, good evening. My name is Robin Janeka. I am with Sign Crafters. My husband and I are local business owners. This is our 27th year in business. And we live and work together, so woo! We've done a lot of work here lately downtown, Peaches and Tortilla. We do a lot with moonshine. We have done a lot with Razor IT. I mean, there's a lot going on downtown, so we're really proud to be downtown. And we do a lot with Mr. Bill Winlet over here, our friend. And shout out to Mr. Ben Keating. I look back in our files today, and we actually did a sign in 2006 that is still holding its own. That's the big, big pink sign at the body shop, and I am so proud to say that is still beautiful. Anyway, that's been a long time. So we are proud to do a lot of in-house fabrication. That is where we are one of the only sign shops in our area, actually the only sign shop in our area that has a full sheet metal shop, electrical, and welding all in one shop. We don't order out. We do everything in-house for quality control. And we have received a lot, we've seen everything from good and bad when we go out on doing installs and maintenance. So that is why we are so particular about fabrication in-house. But Carissa has brought me here today because I serve as the chairperson for the marketing and for the livestock show and South Texas Farm and Ranch show. So we are teaming up with Innovation Collective to bring education and awareness of the agricultural education to high school and college students. We're going to start with the South Texas Farm and Ranch show in the fall. That's the last week of April that we do educational courses, mostly for adults who need continuing education credits. But we are going to open another class for teenagers and young adults who are going to further their education with the agricultural industry. After this, we're going to challenge them. We're going to challenge them to come up with a project that they can enter into the Victoria Livestock Show County Fair and Ag Mechanics. We have a division that these students can use their knowledge, their investigation, their research, and put it into a project that they can earn scholarships and awards at the Victoria Livestock Show. We already have divisions in place that will do that, but this will open up doors for the community and for these students to realize, hey, I'm going to enter this competition and I could win an award. I can win a scholarship, and just really have another avenue for their growth and experience. And so that is what Carissa and a few others in the area are working on, along with myself, and we will be in touch and we will keep you updated along the way.
Thank you so much. And now I'm going to walk down here because we have someone else that is working on a really amazing idea that she brought to Coffee and Concepts. can you bring her up here, please? She's going to start by telling you a little bit about herself and then what she's been working on. Yes, she can. Yes, of course.
Okay, so just get me situated here. How's this? Perfect. Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming and letting me speak. I really appreciate it. My name is Jamie, and I had what I thought was a really incredible idea because of my parents. My parents run their own nonprofit right now for older people who like to dance. They put on a dance once a month at the Westerner. And a lot of their friends just, it's just they like to come out, they like to have a good time, and they like to get exercise. And so what I noticed after COVID was that a lot of them did not want to go out anymore, or they couldn't, they were too scared to, they were anxious, a lot of different reasons. And a lot of them got sick and died. And that was very sad to me because I feel like I'm on dialysis right now, and they told me whenever I first started dialysis, if you don't find a reason to live, you will not be successful at dialysis. You will get sicker and sicker and basically just lose the will to live because dialysis is very hard on your body, and so is old age. And so I noticed that the more that I got out and did stuff, the more that I wanted to do and the healthier I became. And now I'm making almost all of my treatments. I'm sitting in my chair the whole time, and I feel incredible. Whereas when I started out, I really didn't know whether I wanted to continue. I didn't have any hope. And what I want to bring to people, especially the older generation, is hope. When you're in your nursing home, it gets really depressing. When your friends start to get sick and age and they can no longer leave the house, it makes you sad too, to watch your friends, go through these issues. And so I want to do something that can help everyone, not just older people, but especially older people. So what I wanted to do was start a nonprofit and put on dances, karaoke shows, sing-alongs, basically any event that seniors might find interesting. They would be all ages, family-friendly, everyone is welcome. But I want to celebrate the older folks and make them feel like they have a place in the community. And also, I'm very nervous. I've never done this before. So, but also, it's just very important to me to give people hope and to make people feel like they want to live and they have somewhere to go. Because a lot of people, their families move away. Their grandchildren get older and they're just not as close anymore. They go off to college, they get married, and they have their own children. And so I want to have a place where people can come together and be happy and be joyous, because every day that I get to wake up, I feel like it's a gift. I just wake up and jump out of bed and I wonder, what can I do today? And I want to bring that joy to everyone, especially older people who feel like they don't have hope or they don't have people to care about them, because I care and I know a lot of you also care. And so I just want to bring everyone together and just give everyone a chance to have fun and to wake up happy.
Can you tell us the name of it?
I decided to call it Golden Groove. So I wasn't sure how that would go over, but I was like, it's very on the nose. So So that's what I came up with. And also I wanted to mention there's kind of a lot of moving parts to this, because I wanted to focus on the fundraising aspect of this. So basically, I wanted to have events that were separate from this for people of, like people who were, 18 and over, 21 and over. I have a lot of people that I'm friends with in bands. And so they just want to play, they just want to make noise and be heard. And so I talked to a lot of them, and they're more than willing to play free shows for the younger crowd and to have, and be a part of these fundraisers. So basically, I wanted to look at it as like every event that I put on, whether it's for younger folks or older, is like look at it as a fundraiser for the next event. So every dollar that you put into the nonprofit goes straight back into the nonprofit to help maybe with transportation to these events, because some people, they're perfectly mobile, they just can't see anymore, like me. I'm perfectly mobile, I just cannot drive myself because I'm blind. And so a lot of older people can't drive at night, or they just have palsy, or just a few little things that keep them from driving and getting places. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help older people if you have the money. And so every event that I put on, whether, like I said, whether it's a 21-year-old event or it's for 80-year-olds, all the money goes back into the nonprofit to help seniors. So that's what I came up with.
Thank you so much. You did so good. Didn't she do amazing? So now I'm going to bring Stevie up here. He runs Journey Church, and I just want to give him a big thank you for letting us use this venue. If you could please introduce yourself and tell a little bit about what you do.
So, hey, my name's Steven Gonzalez. A lot of y'all probably know me as Steve-O, Pastor Steve-O, all that good stuff. I am the pastor at Journey Church, which you are in right now, so you're now a member, in case you don't know that. So anyway, but yeah, we've been doing this for almost 5 years now. My wife and I, we were youth pastors here in town for several years before that. And so just, working in the community, being a part of community, and just bringing the gospel to people has been just our calling and our purpose. And then aside from that, I just like to play with technology and gadgets and cameras and stuff like that too. So it's kind of funny. I'm looking around, I'm like, there's a lot of people in here I've done video stuff for, and I was like, over the years, this feels very awkward. I feel like I'm like looking at ex-girlfriends all across the room, and I don't have that many of them, so it's weird. But anyway, yeah, I just, thanks to Krista and Bill and everyone for doing this, allowing me to be a part of it. Anytime we see community happening and people helping each other, it mirrors what we do. And, right now we need that more than ever. Just people not isolating, but gathering together, finding purpose, finding vision, finding something that they want to be a part of, they want to play a role in, because regardless of what you're trying to accomplish, you're not going to get far alone. Something I've learned the hard way many times, but you can't do it on your own. And so you need people, you need each other, and so it's really cool just to see this and be a part, and thanks for letting me come and talk for a little bit.
Of course, and thank you. I appreciate you for having us here. You're amazing, helping with the video and the venue. So big round of applause for you. Thank you. So now it's time for the main event. Ben Keating, thank you for being here. You're on.
You're welcome.
So we're just going to start out the fireside chat for those of you who haven't been here before. It's just us chatting like you would around, a campfire, and talking and learning a little bit more about you and what you've done in your journey. So I'll start off by asking you, where did you grow up and what kind of family did you have?
I thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I love talking about this stuff. So I grew up in Tomball, Texas, on the north side of Houston, and my father was the dealer at Tomball Ford in Houston, and we grew up on a pecan orchard. And my parents and two sisters. And when I think about our family growing up, the phrase that comes to mind for me is work ethic. In that we kind of all had the belief that nobody would outwork a Keating, and that played a lot throughout our lives. But I worked at the car dealership I started working there when I was 11 and kind of worked my way through there. I knew it was very clearly spoken in my family that even though your dad owns a car dealership, I had to buy my own car. And so I knew that when I started working at 11, I was saving up money so that I could buy the car I wanted to buy when I turned 16. So, it was great, but, you were expected to work hard.
You know, I started working for my family when I was like 7. I think that's what it is. They get children labor. You know,
Yeah,
they're like, hey,
yeah.
you got to pull your weight in the family. So I know how that is, and I always tell everyone, working for my dad, I learned so much, and if I could work for him, I could work for anybody, because there was no job that I didn't do or wasn't expected to do. If it needed to be done, then I just had to roll up my sleeves and do it. And so do you feel with working in a family business and starting at a young age that really helped build your future work ethic that you still have today, or how did that work for you?
Future work ethic, absolutely. But I'll also say that, I went to college, got an engineering degree because I wanted nothing to do with the car business. I was better at solving problems than I was writing papers, and I decided that engineering degree was the way to go. But from my perspective, it's funny now because I'm in the car business, but back then, my perspective of the car business was picking up trash and parking cars in a straight line and washing cars, and I hated all of that crap. I didn't want anything to do with it. And as far as I knew, that's what the car business was, because that's all I ever did, and I wanted nothing to do with it.
And that's so interesting when you work for your family, the things that you do and how you view that career of a car dealership. So now I have to ask the question, how did you go from an engineering degree and now into car dealerships? How did that happen?
So, I had an interesting high school years, I guess is what I would say. I went through drug treatment twice in high school. I ended up being my own legal guardian for my senior year of high school. Even though my family always lived in Tomball, I lived on my own in Oklahoma City for my senior year of high school, which I thought was just no big deal back then. Now that I have 2 kids, I can't even imagine how that ever took place. But I didn't have my parents there to tell me that it was time to apply for college. And so, I kind of realized I'm graduating from high school. I've got to figure this out really, really quickly. The first acceptance letter I got was from Texas A&M, and that's where I went. And that's how I made the decision. As I mentioned earlier, I went into engineering because I knew I was better at solving problems than I was at writing papers. But I did an internship between my junior and senior year for an insurance company that serviced car dealers. And so I was kind of the fly on the wall, or the assistant, the helper, the one who made all the copies, and I traveled around with the agents going around to different car dealerships all summer long. For those of you who have had, high school kids or college kids, I was completely a naive know-it-all. I thought I knew, what the car business, how to be successful in the car business. And as we went around to all these other dealerships, my thought was, I know this is a super competitive business, and I think I can run circles around all these guys that we are meeting with. I was not very impressed with their operations. And I decided that, if these guys are my competition, then this is the business I want to get into. And that's how the decision was made.
So it had nothing to do with your family or growing up in that. You went
Not
on
at
your
all.
own term. Isn't that amazing how he circled back? And that's what's funny, because I'm sure a lot of people sometimes will assume you're in the car business because your family was in the car business, and when in fact that doesn't even really have anything to do with it.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, my grandfather was a Ford dealer. He had 5 kids, and 4 of them became Ford dealers. So every time we went to Christmas or Thanksgiving, all we talked about was the car business. That's probably why I felt like an expert, even though I really knew nothing.
You were schooled in car dealerships without
That's
even
right.
knowing it. Yeah. So you talked about going to college. Would you go again?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was a little bit of a misfit at Texas A&M. I know it's hard to believe now, but I had hair in the middle of my back. I smoked cigarettes, and I did not fit in with the typical Corps of Cadet model student that you saw at Texas A&M. But I absolutely fell in love with it, and I wouldn't have skipped that for the world. It was incredible experiences, incredible knowledge. I got to meet my wife at Texas A&M. It is. I absolutely would not have skipped that for anything.
And then, so what would you say up to now has been your biggest accomplishment in your professional life?
So I feel like I have to back up a little bit. Let's see, a month ago, 4 weeks ago, we celebrated 20 years at Port Lavaca Ford. So I would say, 20 years and 2 months ago, I was unemployed. I had no money, and I was sideways with my dad, and I ended up having an opportunity to buy what was then Port City's Ford, but the Ford dealership in Port Lavaca had gone broke under 2 different operators in the previous 7 years, and nobody wanted to touch it because it seemed like a very difficult proposition, and we had nothing to lose. The old song of freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. We had all the freedom in the world, and so we literally kind of bet the farm on going into Port Lavaca Ford, and it's crazy to think about now, but only 3 months later, we bought the Dodge dealership across the street. 18 months later, we bought the Chevrolet Buick GMC dealership next door, and we grew very quickly. I was working for my father before that. I was unemployed because he had fired me, but I had hired and trained and developed these incredible relationships with so many people at Tomball Ford that even though I was moving into Port Lavaca, and I was able to, I think I stole, I'll say stole, I think I stole somewhere around 10 people out of my dad's organization. Some of you are here tonight that came along with me for the ride. Today, I bring that up, today we have 28 dealerships all over the state of Texas. We are the largest privately held auto group in the state. I have, so my number one accomplishment in professional life, I would say, is my relationships. And the reason I say that is that nobody can do it on their own. It is, people are the number one asset of any organization, period. And I've always had a really strongly held belief that I wanted to invest in myself, but I want to bet on my ability to solve problems better than the next guy. I want to invest in my passion, in my work ethic, I want to invest in myself. But you can't be arrogant enough to think that it's all about you, and you can't be arrogant enough to think that you can't do it without bringing other people up along with you. And I think that is absolutely the best accomplishment has been all the amazing relationships that I've built, through the years with all the people that are running all these businesses. It's not about me; it's about them. And I mean, it's just incredible. We spent a lot of time developing and training and teaching and helping them work through their failure, helping them enjoy their successes and whatever. I feel like I'm creating a bunch of little Ben Keatings, but we have a lot of fun together, and we've enjoyed a lot of success. And their success is my success. So I feel like the relationships that have been created through the professional success would be the number one accomplishment.
And that's such a great answer. I have to take a moment to say, wow, you were fired by your dad. You bought a dealership that not only failed once, but multiple times. You took that and you ran with it. And now you're sitting here saying that your success is because of your relationships. To me, I admire that so much, and I have so much respect for that, because you realize that it's the people who help you build that empire and do those things that are so important. But it's also to show all of you that it's so amazing that someone at that point in their life, you kept going. And you're like, I'm going to try something, I'm going to do this. And now to have that success, that's really something to admire.
Wow, thank you. Those of you who know me know that I can be fairly intense. I'm fairly driven. I'm fairly competitive, and just stopping and quitting is not an option.
Hey, well, it's working to your benefit. And so I'm curious if you could give someone advice that was wanting to be successful, what would that look like? What kind of advice would you give to them?
I'd say a couple things. I would say control what you can and forget about the rest. I would say, I want to define success first. So, to me, success is achieving the goal that you have set out for yourself, which is a simple answer. But the reality is that the goalposts are moving all the time. And so you have to redefine what that goal is all the time, and redefine what success looks like all the time, and therefore success is relative. I spend a lot of time talking about making comparisons. Everybody's opinion about everything, everybody's judgment about everything, everybody's decision making it's all based on a comparison. I could give you a lot of examples of that, but I recognize that it's all based on a comparison, and therefore it's all relative. And so now I'm trying to remember the question you asked me. You asked what advice I would give them about being successful, and I would say you need to figure out what the comparison is, and I feel like I'm doing a poor job of kind of explaining that whole thing. And that
I totally
is,
understand what you're saying. I totally get it.
well, I mean, when I was a kid, we went to we did a vacation in Yosemite National Park, and the park ranger told the old joke I've heard. I'm sure most of you have heard of. Two guys coming to an open field, and they see a bear over there, and the bear starts coming to them, and the guy starts taking off his pack and putting on his track shoes. The other guy says, "What are you doing? You can't outrun the bear." And he says, "I don't have to outrun the bear. I only have to outrun you." Right? That's how I look at life. I don't have to have the answers to all the problems. I just have to problem solve better than you. Life is a competition, and that is whether it's problem solving, whether it's hiring people, whether it's sales or advertising or all the things that I do. I'm always asking myself, what is the comparison? What is success? It's all relative, and the goalposts are always moving, and so it is. It's a matter of figuring out what success looks like, but then also realizing that it's only relative to whatever else is going on around you. So, my advice would be to try to figure out and focus on what that comparison is, and that can be applied to almost everything.
No, and that's great advice. And I really like how you said the goalposts are always moving, because that's true. Just because you set a goal doesn't mean, you don't have to pivot because something's changed. And that's really good perspective that you gave. So thank you for that. And I'm curious, you talked about graduating from college. If you were graduating today, what would be the thing that you would focus on?
I would say, I would focus on wherever the passion is, and what I mean by that is that no matter what you choose to go get into, no matter what you choose to do for a career or a business or a job or whatever, in my view of it, if you're going to be successful with it, you're going to have to think about it 24/7. You're gonna work harder than everybody else. You're gonna work longer hours than anybody else. You're not gonna be paid what you're worth, and you have to be okay with that. It has to envelop you. You have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy the pain, and the only way that happens is if you're passionate about it. If you're passionate about it, doesn't matter what you're going to do, you're going to succeed. And if you're not, then it's just a job. It's just boring, and your chances of success are not as high.
Very true. Got to have the passion so that you want to work hard to do whatever it is that you've chosen to do. And so, with talking about passion and your career and everything you've done, was there some advice along the way that was really pivotal, that really helped you, that you still remember to this day? Like the best advice you ever got?
What comes to mind for me is a series of quotes that a lot of the guys that work with me in here have heard a lot of. But one of my favorite quotes is, "The world makes way for a man who knows where he's going." And I found that to be very true. And I feel like that pretty well describes my job. My job is to help lead the leaders of our organization. My job is to make sure they know where they're going. And as long as they know where they're going, the world's going to make way for them. And so I feel like that was really, really good advice. I enjoy the quote that is, "If it is to be, it's up to me." That kind of goes along with that work ethic from the family. I'll often kind of murmur that to myself. As I've already said, everything is based on a comparison. So, that came out of reading a book, a sales book, actually. And I have ended up applying it to everything. I don't know. I could come up with a lot more if I sat here and thought about it for a while. But I tend to think back on quotes. But
I love that. I'm big on quotes too. It motivates me when I read them and I carry them along. And I love how you murmur it to yourself, because I think all of us kind of have that self-talk where we're like, we've got this, we can do this, and saying a quote. And so that's what keeps Ben Keating going, is you tell quotes to yourself. Now I know the secret sauce, right? So I think with you talking about all the things you've done, is there anybody innovative that has really stood out to you that you respect and has really affected your life? And what is it about them that you respect and that they're so innovative?
So when I think of innovative, to me that means creating something that didn't exist before. In my mind, I think of creative solutions that didn't exist before. I think my dad was, he didn't come into the business as golly, now that I think about it, he also got an engineering degree and had no plans of getting into the car business. He was working.
Father like son.
Yeah, he was working for Owens Corning Fiberglass. And anyway, he tended to have a very creative view on how to solve problems within his business, and he was extremely innovative at creating solutions that didn't exist before, and I kind of grew up with that, and so for sure that infiltrated me, and that would be one big answer. The one that I am focused on right now, I guess I would say, that comes to mind is a guy that I don't expect anybody in the room to know, but a gentleman named Larry Van Tile. He is a friend, but he was kind of one of the original mega dealers. He was where I am today 30 years ago, and he grew to be the largest privately held auto group in the country. And there aren't very many people that you can talk to about your specific issues that you're dealing with. And I've developed a really good relationship with I call him LVT, Larry Van Tile, and it's just awesome how innovative he was such a long time ago when nobody had, he went where no man had gone before, and he's available to me now for me to, ask him.
Like a mentor.
How he did it, you bet, yeah.
And so you have all these car dealerships that you have going, and so you're obviously innovative in what you're doing. I mean, I remember when Port Lavaca, all your dealerships started popping up. Every time I turned on the radio, every sign, I mean, it was everywhere. And how have you kept that going? What do you think is your secret sauce for that?
Well, the answer is I haven't kept that going. You were here a long time ago. You remember all those, as I'm sure most of you do, but you'll realize that I'm not on the television much anymore. I'm not on the radio much anymore. But at that point in time, and even still today, I tend to, have an engineering type approach to all my situations, and at that time, like I said earlier, I had, my back was against the wall. I had bet the farm, and at the time, our secret sauce was the fact that we had brought all these people out of Houston, all these relationships that had come with me out of Houston. We knew how to compete in the Houston market. We thought the entire world operated that way. We came down to Port Lavaca and realized, whoa, this is really different. And we made the decision not to operate any differently than we did when we were in Houston. And we were big-time disruptors in the market. And not only here, but anywhere within 2 hours. We were big disruptors in Corpus Christi. Back then, I way overspent on advertising. But I had 3 different dealerships in Port Lavaca. I had started an advertising agency, and I was constantly doing little bitty experiments to figure out what worked best. As annoying as it was, I proved beyond any shadow of a doubt that 15 commercials per day was better than 12. Once I figured that out, we had 15 commercials per day, per dealership, per channel.
I remember.
I got a phone call from one lady really upset one day because I had come on 9 times during Oprah. Anyway, it was that early problem solving and kind of that engineering type approach to figuring out what works. How to get people to drive all the way to Port Lavaca to buy a car. Turns out people will drive a long way to save a bunch of money.
That's very true. And so do you have any books that you could recommend to everybody that you like or that you feel would be beneficial for them to read?
So my family gives me a hard time that I always enjoy boring business books. I'll just say the 3 books that I have asked my children to read. I think that's a pretty good answer.
Great answer.
I love a little book called The Greatest Miracle in the World by Og Mandino, which I'm guessing most of you have never heard of. The other two, I've asked them to read The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck, which I'm assuming most of you have probably heard of. And I asked them to read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I think all 3 of those are extremely beneficial when it comes to relationships, and that's kind of how I feel success is most easily found, whether it's professional or personal.
Well, and the big takeaway too from this is that I really appreciate how you're talking about relationships in all areas of your life. That's the core really of success, and what's so important, whether it be your professional or your personal life, is those relationships and doing things to create those and also keep them going. So that to me sounds like what you're saying the true secret sauce is. And now we all need to know too about your racing career. How did this start, and how did you get there, and what does it look like?
We don't have all night. So those of you who know my wife Kathleen know that I married up in a big way, and she was gracious enough back in 2005, Christmas of 2005. She decided that a really good Christmas present for a car guy was to get me a weekend at the track for Christmas. And I went out and I did it, and I decided that was the funnest thing I'd ever done in my life, and I wanted to do it again. And I went out and did it again. So I did it in, the first time May of 06, the second time January of 07. I'm going to really try to shorten this up because I could talk a long time. But the short version is I got completely hooked. I ended up buying a race car, and because I bought a race car, I accidentally got put in the race group, and so I started racing wheel to wheel against other cars when I had never done it before, and I had no business being there. And in my first 6 events, I was involved in 6 wrecks, and the series came to me and said, nobody wants to drive with you on the track anymore, and so you're on probation, and if you have another wreck in the next 6 months, then we're kicking you out. And that's exactly what I needed. I backed it down a little bit, and in 08, I raced in 8 events, and I won 7 of them. Now, very small class. There are only 3 cars in our class, and the other 2 guys were really bad. But I did win 7 out of 8 races, and I won the championship. And then I decided to graduate to a different car in a larger class. I won the championship there in 09, and I kept going up into different cars and different classes, and I kept finding success, and just kept working my way up to the point that in 2013 I made the decision. So at Tomball Dodge in Houston, we were the #1 volume Viper dealer in the world, and so I had a really close relationship with Chrysler, and I had always raced. What I started, that very first event was in a Dodge Viper, so I'd always raced Vipers. I was racing in the Viper Racing League or the Viper Cup, all these different Viper series, and so Chrysler was racing in the American Le Mans Series in a Viper, in their all-pro manufacturer level type of racing. So I made the decision to go race in the American Le Mans series in a Porsche in their what they would call their Pro-Am class, the class for the businessman to be able to go in and compete on the same track at the same time with all these other cars. And it was a good move because I convinced Chrysler to build a GT3 version of the Viper, which I then started racing in IMSA, which is the biggest endurance sports car series in North America. And so, I've done that for the last 10 years, 12 years, something like that. And then for the last 3 years, I've started racing in the World Endurance Championship. None of this is going to mean anything to most of you. I will say that we have been very successful in 20. I've won the 24 Hours of Daytona. I've won the 12 Hours of Sebring 3 times. I've won a race called Petit Le Mans. I've done the 24 Hours of Le Mans in France the last 7 years in a row. But I've gotten a first, a second, and a third in the last 4 years in our class. I won the championship in what they call an LMP2 prototype, which is just a weird-looking car. Last year, I got second place in an Aston Martin in the World Endurance Championship. In Europe, they call it vice champion, which sounds way better. Yeah, so Kathleen got me a gift 15 years ago.
It's still giving. It's a gift that kept giving.
And it has gone nutso. But it is. She is very gracious about it all. She loves the fact that I have found something that I'm passionate about outside of work.
And do you feel that finding that passion has actually helped you with work, having something outside of it? Do you think that it inspires you to focus on that and kind of reinvigorates you?
I would say yes. I have some weird tick in my brain. I don't know what to call it, but I am extremely. I love competition. And I don't have to win all the time, but I am very driven, and I just love. I love the idea of competition, and that's kind of what drives me in business, and it's also what drives me in my my recreation of racing cars. I get the benefit of working with cars and playing with cars, but for me, that competition side of things just kind of feeds my soul, and I think it makes me easier to be around at home.
She gave a thumbs up.
That's right. Nobody in my family wants to play cards with me.
Or Monopoly.
Yeah, anything. It's so depressing.
So, what do you feel that this area in Victoria could focus on to make it more economically vibrant? What would you say would be something that they should focus on, in your opinion?
I think that's a minefield. But I would say that in my experience, there's no such thing as a silver bullet. It's never just one thing. Success does not happen because you changed one thing. It is the summation of thousands of small little good decisions or small little injections of passion, and we have all heard lots of different ideas. They're all good. There is no one solution, I think that it has a snowball effect, and the snowball effect goes either way. They can all, all those little bitty things have big synergies, to use a buzzword, but you're either having a snowball that's growing in a positive direction, or you have a snowball that's shrinking in a negative direction. And clearly, right now in Victoria, it's extremely positive. We have a ton of growth. We have people pouring their heart and soul into downtown. We have people pouring their heart and soul into, Navarro or around the Loop, or in organizations like Innovative Collective. It is. There are lots of different examples where we are headed in the right direction, and that just grows slowly over time. We have much better support in our local government than we've had in the past. I feel like there are lots of little things that feel really good about it, and the key to it is just to keep pushing it forward. I know that's what you're doing. That's what you're working on. But I don't think there is really any one thing that is the answer to making Victoria this amazing community that everybody wants to come visit. I think it happens over time as a result of thousands of little injections of passion.
Injections of passion.
I
That's
don't know
fantastic.
why I came up with that phrase. But.
Well, and I think it's a community, everyone working together, and I feel that snowball effect in a positive way right now, where there's all these different things happening, but at the same time, even though it's so many different things, everyone is coming together, and it's a really beautiful thing to experience and to witness happening in our community. And so now is the Q&A portion of it. Woo-hoo. So if you have a question for Ben, if you could raise your hand and we will bring the mic to you. If you could please, when the mic is brought to you, say your name and introduce yourself too.
Thank you for coming out. I'm Justin Shaner, outlaw Fort of Texas, and appreciate you telling us your story. I got a twofold question. Can you talk about your daily routine and what keeps you healthy in the mind, brain, and then also talk about integrating your GPS tracking systems into your other businesses, creating a business within a business?
You bet. Wow, I'm impressed with your knowledge. So the first question was, kind of a daily routine. It's changed a lot through the years. When we had 7 businesses, I was. They were, we had Port Lavaca, we had Tomball, and we had Bernie. They were all within 2 hours. I could drive everywhere in a day and work and come back home. We were heavily involved, or I was personally heavily involved with the day-to-day operations of every store. Then we got to the point that we had, when we got to where we had 12 dealerships, then it was like, okay, this is outside the scope of my ability to be heavily involved. And so we started a corporate office, next to Toyota Victoria there. And we had just a handful of people in there. Then when we got to, I can't remember what it was, but we got to a certain point where we're like, okay, we need more support. So now we have quite a bit of support there, and what that support has provided me the opportunity to do is to, as I said earlier, just kind of lead the leaders. We have such an amazing group of people and a group of businesses that are so amazingly well run that if you're doing a bad job, you stick out like a sore thumb. It makes it pretty easy to be a leader. The good news is we've all been there and done that. And, I can probably look at a report and know what the problem is and know what the solution is before I know, what the general manager is going to say about it. A big portion of my daily routine now is looking at reports and trying to provide some leadership to the leaders. I'm not very much involved in the day-to-day routine or day-to-day stuff at any of the stores. I hate to admit it, but I'm probably in each one of the dealerships less than 2 times per year. I'm just, we have a quarterly meeting, and we've got really good reporting, we've got really good relationships, and so I don't need to go in there and get involved in their business.
That's good leadership, letting it run.
You bet.
That means you're doing your job.
I'm assuming, just like everybody else, my day-to-day routine, is deleting 100 emails that I shouldn't be wasting my time with. But most of my days are spent in the office looking at reports. But I would also say that my favorite way to stay fit for racing is to ride a bicycle. I rode 20 miles this morning with a bunch of these guys sitting here down the same row with you, and that helps keep me sane as well. So the second question was, you were asking about our GPS business. So we have a lot of we have some. I guess I'd call it vertical integration to a certain extent, but we got to a size where we realized, we're spending a ton of money on advertising. As an example, we think we know what we're doing better than the people we're paying the money to, and so we started our own ad agency. We have our own real estate company, we have our own insurance company, all these various side things, and we were the #1 volume reseller of a GPS product, #1 in the country, and I came up with all these great ideas for the company, and I called up the owner of the company and said, "Hey, I'm your #1 reseller, and I have a bunch of ideas I think you should integrate into your product, because I think you'll sell 5 times what you're selling right now, and it would be a great service to me." And so he invited us down to Florida, and we went to Florida, and I went to show him everything, and he was not very nice. The short version is, he basically said, "If you think you know so much about this business, why don't you buy me?" And I said, "Okay." And that didn't work out, but what it did do is it instigated us deciding to go into the business for ourselves. The flaw in that, all the systems that were in the market at that point in time were like a LoJack. They were designed for security of the end user. There was nothing that was designed for the use of the business, and for the most part, car dealers are going to sell whatever they have to sell. If you give me a lot full of Ford Focuses, I'm going to figure out a way to sell them, so I recognize the fact that I have the opportunity as the dealer to sell whatever product I want to sell. As far as a GPS product goes, I'm going to sell something that's going to benefit me, as well as give me something that I can then use to benefit the customer as well. And so we designed a system that was totally set up to benefit the dealer for inventory management. Things like doing an automated physical inventory. Things like setting up a geofence so that you can know when a car has left your lot. Things like knowing, how long a car has been sitting in one parking spot. If it's been there for 10 months, it's probably time to move it. Or being able to know at the push of a button, looking at a computer, how many dead batteries you have on the lot. Things like that, providing incredible service for the business, that they can then take that product and turn around and sell it to the customer. It was a no-brainer. Anytime we hear the phrase "no-brainer" in our office, we are wary of that phrase. But it's been very successful, and we sell it all over the country. We have an office in Atlanta, and most people that buy it have no idea that it was designed and owned by a car dealer. But it was problem solving. We figured out how to build a better mousetrap, and so we decided to do it.
It's amazing, and it just shows how innovative you are. You see something, you're like, I can do that. Let me do this and figure it out. And so even though the goalposts have been moving, you keep going and you keep pushing on and creating things. And how amazing is that he's right here in our city? It's really cool.
We love this city.
I know, right? It's awesome. But it's just to come up with these ideas. That's really something special. So that's cool, super cool. So who else has a question?
David.
David Murphy, Chick-fil-A. First of all, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. Thank you for being a sustainer of Young Life in Victoria and for all they do to have impact and influence our high school students. Tell me about your passion behind Young Life.
Awesome. As you've heard me say over and over again, I believe that life change comes out of relationships, and I have seen in when we were living in Tomball, working for my dad, going to Northwest Bible Church, Kathleen and I have seen Young Life literally change a community, just one relationship at a time. We were in Colorado visiting my cousin up there close to Frontier Camp, and we decided that we should try to figure out how to get Young Life into Victoria. And we ended up calling around, and it turned out that we were late to the party, and there were already another group of people who were working to bring Young Life into Victoria, there's no such thing as a coincidence. We were exactly where we were supposed to be when we were supposed to be there, and it has been absolutely incredible. We were on committee for a long time, trying to help grow Young Life, just because it's such an incredible organization that we believe heavily in. Now we've got that big, huge building right there. It's 48,000 square foot building. We use about a third of it, and so we let Young Life take over the first floor pretty much. And that just means we get to see Bella's smiling face more often, and we get to. We have a place to store all the Chick-fil-A Fun Run stuff indoors. But it's such an incredible organization, and I literally have seen it change whole communities, and it has grown substantially over the last, I don't know, how long has it been? 10 years, something like that. maybe longer. 12. All right. So, it has grown a bunch, and it's just going to keep continuing. It'll get a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, and it's really dramatically awesome to see how it changes the whole community. I've seen it happen before. I'm a big believer in it. So we're very passionate about Young Life.
And we have time for one more question.
Good evening, Chance Glenn with UHV. Two questions. First question is, are you familiar with the Formula SAE program, which allows young people to get involved with designing, building race cars and competing? And then the second thing is, when are you going to roll up one of your cars onto the campus so that all of the students can hear the engine roar?
Yeah. I appreciate that. I understand you've sat in this seat before. I am familiar with it. It's interesting. I was not familiar with Formula SAE at all when I was in school. I was not, I was not aware that a regular person could drive their street car on a racetrack until my Christmas present in 2005. But since being so passionately, taken by motorsports, we still we recruit out of colleges. I've recruited out of Texas A&M for 24 years now. 25 years, and I have interviewed and hired quite a few people, who have come to the interview saying, "Hey, I built the chassis on the Formula SAE car," or "I was in charge of the carbon bodywork," or whatever, so the James, is James Law in here? He's not. All right. So the gentleman who is the operating partner, general manager of Victoria Dodge, was in charge of the Formula SAE team at Texas A&M when they won the national championship. And so I am familiar with it. And I'll tell you that I would love the opportunity to, I have 4 race cars here in town, I guess I should say, and I'd be happy to bring them out anytime you want. I'm not a guy who is, I don't like to collect cars, I like to use them. So, I've still got a few race cars special to me, but I've got a few cars, and I'm happy to bring them out anytime.
That's amazing. I cannot wait to see. So we're going to set this up for sure. Well, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I know personally I took away so much from this, as I'm sure all of you did as well. And thank you for all that you do for the community and for Young Life, and just being you and having that competitive spirit that drives you, because you create jobs and you create other people to have the opportunities to chase their passion as well. And I have so much respect and admiration for you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to share it. It's an honor to be asked to be up here, I'm pretty much an open book. You may not like my opinion, but I have plenty of them. Call me up and ask me if you need advice or you have a question. I'm happy to visit about it.
Well, thank you so much.
You
I
bet.
appreciate it.